Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your top 5 Manchester United January transfer targets for the striker position. Looking forward to this. It's been in the work for about 10 days, but with the Ronaldo interview and then the United stale, we've sort of kept putting it back, which has actually played into our hands a little bit because it's enhanced some of the options and got rid of others. So we've got 5 players that we're looking at for January. Very interested for your thoughts. Get in the comments, leave us your top 5s as well. But we're going to start off with Marcus Thuram, who plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach and is out of contract in 2023. He's currently part of the French World Cup squad. He's not had a look in at the moment because they're bloody brilliant, but out of contract in the summer. He scored 10 goals in 15 Bundesliga games this season. He did have injury problems last year, 25 years of age. Could he be a possible look for Manchester United? Now, Aston Villa are looking at him and a few other clubs are looking at him. Mönchengladbach have basically come out and said that there's a very slim chance that he'll sign a new contract. He's out of contract in the summer. He's part of the French squad. He's scoring goals. There's a lot of interest from the Premier League. We've got very little chance of keeping him. So he's a free transfer. And I think for that, I mean, look, I've not heard massive things about Manchester United looking at him, but I don't think you can ignore a player with the prolific nature that he's shown this season, and he's a player that I think we were looking at. I remember United were looking at him when we came out of COVID the first time, so probably, 2-3 years ago. So, look, I don't know that Erik ten Hag is going to be looking at a player like this, but I don't think you can also ignore a player that you would normally pay 40-50 million quid for and you're going to pay nothing for them. It's almost a free hit if there's something there. And I'm not going to put him in the Eriksen category where you get a player for free and it's like, wow, we've got a player for 40-50 million for free. But there is a player there that's 40-50 million pound for free. And if there is something there, why would United not make a move for it? As I say, we're not massively been linked to him at the moment. I do like the player. I think he's got that explosive pace and directness, and he can certainly finish. And look, he can certainly cover the ground. He's fast. There's no reason he couldn't play in that front line and press or be part of that team press that Erik ten Hag wants. He's probably an outsider. I'd probably say the chances of us moving for him is well below 25%. But I do think it's a player that you've got to look at because he's available for nothing, and he's a good player with potential. Maybe being 25, maybe is 2 years a little bit past that development that Ten Hag will look at. But 25's not young, not old, is it? So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Thuram, who, of course, I mean, there's no reason for Manchester United to want to buy him. He is the son of the famous French World Cup winning right back as well. But that's got nothing to do with why we might be looking at him. So an interesting one to start it off with. Get us your thoughts on him. Our next one is Memphis Depay, of course. We were speaking about him on the morning show. 28 years of age, Memphis Depay. That's not really much of an age, is it? But hardly played for Barcelona this year. Definitely surplus to requirements. They want to move him on. He wants to move on. He is part of the Dutch World Cup squad, but really hasn't done anything for Barcelona this season. I think he's only played a handful of times. I think he scored 1 goal. And I like the player. I suppose the best way of looking at this is I'm not anti-Memphis Depay. I like the player. I've always liked the player. But if you compare, if we buy Memphis Depay in January, compare that excitement to when we bought him from PSV, and there endeth the lesson. The buzz from when we bought him from PSV was high. It was high, it was exciting, and he was a developmental player, and it didn't work out. Bringing him back at 28, it's not the same buzz, it's not the same excitement. So why are we doing it? And I think that's a really good example. When we first bought him, it was really exciting. He was a young player. He was ripping it up in the Eredivisie, and it was like we could have a real superstar here. He's got that star quality on and off the pitch. This could be brilliant, and it didn't work out at all. Bringing him back at 28, it's not as exciting. There's no longevity in it. It's not as developmental, and I think that I like the player. The fact that he's free again, Thuram as well. The fact that he's going to be free, but the difference between Memphis and Thuram to me is that Memphis has a bit of baggage at United. There'd be a lot of press interest in that, and Is he going to start every game? You can just sort of see where we'd end up with Memphis in a year's time, where he's had a bit part player, not played enough games, not really happy. I just think it's destined to fail. I just wouldn't go anywhere near it. But if he does come back, obviously I'd back it 100% because I like the player. But I just don't think we should be going back. I don't think it's the sort of deal we should be doing. And as I said this morning, I think that the signings that Erik ten Hag has made so far have been a very distinct type of signing. It's about either dropping into the team as an experienced player like Eriksen and Casemiro, or it's developmental players like Martinez and Malacia and Anthony. And I don't think Memphis fits into either of those. I don't think he comes straight into the team, and I don't think he is a developmental player. And I think Ten Hag should stick to what he's got a proven track record for at United. So it would be a no from me, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a no from Man United. And as I said, replacing Ronaldo for Memphis Depay without spending anything might appeal. Third option, and probably the number one option for all of you, smash a like on the video if Gakpo's your choice. I can't do a poll because we're not live. I think he is number one for everybody. I think he's number one for Ten Hag. I think he's number one for you, and I think logically he's the number one choice. 23 years of age, he's got that development. He's got that ability to step forward and develop even more. He's playing in the World Cup. All these players are playing in the World Cup, which is a coincidence so far. He's scoring in the World Cup. That doesn't really bother me. I think in his Eredivisie stats, because I don't use Europa League even though we're in it, his Eredivisie stats, he's got 9 goals in 14 games, 9 goals in 14 games and 12 assists in the Eredivisie. So, look, it's the Eredivisie, but also it's still very good stats. Not everyone's got those stats. So, he's having a very good season. He's the player that Erik ten Hag wanted in August. He's the player that Erik ten Hag wants as the replacement for Ronaldo. He's not a winger. He's not the alternative to Anthony. Ten Hag wanted Anthony and Gakpo and was willing to let Ronaldo go in August. That didn't happen. This should happen in January. So he's got the same agent as Ten Hag. It should happen. And I think everybody realises it should happen. Whether it'll happen or not is not going to be down to us. But what I would say is he the right sort of player? And the way I'm looking at it is, yes, he can play off the left. I think he's going to develop into a front player. I think he can play off the forward. He could potentially play off the right. He can play in all those positions, which I think is massively valuable to Manchester United and would probably prevent us having to use people like Alanga, who really should be on loan in the Championship, but gets used as a first-team player because we haven't got anybody else. So I think Gakpo gives us that quality across numerous positions. I think he will develop into a striker as well, given time under Ten Hag. I think he needs to be under a top-level coach at a top club to go to the next level. And I also think that we need 2 strikers. And I don't think getting Gakpo is the end. Cavani left and we didn't replace him. Ronaldo's left and we've not replaced him. That's 2. We need 2. I'd be going Gakpo in January and I'd be going in the summer for someone like Osman as well. So Gakpo in January for me makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Option 4, and I would dismiss this one completely straight away, but it is a player that does get thrown in there. Moussa Dembele, 26 years of age, currently at Lyon, and has been at Lyon for a long time. I remember him being linked to Manchester United when he was a Lyon player, and I'm thinking it might have been as long ago as 4 or 5 years. I remember doing videos on Moussa Dembele years ago. That in itself concerns me, that he's still at Lyon. No one's took a punt on him, and actually this season he's been pretty poor. I think I wrote it down actually. He's played 12 games and scored 2 goals. He's out of contract in the summer. There's no way that this player would even be on the list if he was under contract, because you just wouldn't go anywhere near him and to spend money. He has been in the French squad previously. He's not. He is out of contract, and to be honest with you, it's not the sort of signing Manchester United should be looking at. He's not in form. There's not a big queue for him. His career has sort of stagnated a little bit. I think this is the sort of player that maybe a Fulham look at, maybe a Southampton look at, maybe even an Everton look at, but it's not a deal that Newcastle or Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea are going to be looking at. So look, you can put him in there, and I wouldn't rule it out because he's free in the summer. But I can't see Man United looking for him. As I said, maybe a few years ago, but I just can't see this one. But I've thrown it in there because it's just another example of there is players available in January. There are players. I mean, Tielemans is not a striker, but Tielemans is in the same position as Thuram and Moussa Dembele and Memphis Depay. he is basically out of contract in the summer, and he is a player that clubs should be looking to go and get. But yeah, I don't see Moussa Dembele as an option for Manchester United, if I'm absolutely honest. Maybe you do. And then option 5, completing our top 5, although there is a couple to add in. Jonathan David, 22 years of age. I feel with this player that we haven't really seen what he's all about. I was very impressed with Canada when they played against Belgium the other day, and I've seen him scoring goals in the French league for Lille. But I was hoping, and I'm not a massive fan of scouting players in the World Cup because international football is very different. But he I think you could see his quality, but I think he was generally taken over by the excitement and awe of being the first Canadian player to score in a World Cup. And I think a lot of their front line were like that, shooting from different angles that they normally wouldn't. He's an interesting player, Jonathan David. At 22, he's the youngest player on this list. Gakpo's 23, Thuram's 25, Dembele's 26, and obviously Memphis is 28. So he's the youngest striker on the list. Which in itself is an attraction because the younger you are, the more development there is there. He's also available in January as well. All these players are available in January because of contract or because the club are looking to sell. Lille are looking to sell Jonathan David in January. This is a player that Fabrizio has mentioned on this show quite a lot as well. Now, whether that's inside knowledge or just a thought, it's worth mentioning. He's a good player. He is a good player. And I will rank them in a minute, and you can rank them yourselves, but I would put him up there. Whether I put him second or third, I don't know yet, but I would put him up there because he has got the raw qualities. He's certainly going to move from the French league, and he's got a long career ahead of him. At 22, wherever he goes next, there might be another move. I mean, maybe he goes to the Bundesliga, and then he goes to the Premier League. Maybe he goes to the Premier League now. I certainly think he's a striker that in 3 years' time, you wouldn't be surprised if he's plying his trade in the Champions League for a Champions League club. So that it's not a dismiss out of hand, oh, he's not worth going for. I do think he has got the qualities to be a top striker in Europe. Whether he's on Manchester United's list, apparently we have scouted him extensively. I just think that ultimately he's probably a little bit unfortunate in the sense that it's an odd and fortunate January transfer window for Manchester United that there actually are so many people available. Sometimes you're going into a January transfer window looking for a player and there isn't anything there. We've seen it before and the club can go, there's nothing there. This January, we need a striker and there are quite a few options. Without getting creative, there's 4 or 5 obvious options, of which we've shown you here. So I think Jonathan David on a previous year may well have been a player that United go, well, we've scouted him, we like the look at him as a January signing, let's go for it, we need to do it. And maybe he ends up in a Man United shirt. I think the problem this time is that there are probably better options, but I wouldn't be opposed to us doing it. I just don't think we will do it, if I'm being honest. And he's had a very good season as well, Jonathan David. He's got 9 goals in 15 games in the French league, so he is having a good season. He's used to plying his trade through the middle on his own, he would be more of an out-and-out striker than a Gakpo in many ways. But I like it. So I'm gonna just add in one more player, and that player I'm going to add in is going to be João Felix. I'll just go back to Gakpo for a minute, who isn't João Felix, but he would be my number 1, so I just want to keep him on the screen. So João Felix, I haven't included him in there because I think it's a loan deal, and a loan deal is not a full-time deal, and I think we're talking about signings in January. But I would throw João Felix in there as not even a wild card, but as an option. Atletico Madrid are looking to get him out. Atletico Madrid are not in Europe in the second half of the season. He doesn't play for them particularly much. He's not particularly happy. He doesn't really suit Simeone's style. I don't think Atletico Madrid can sell him in January for 100 million. I think they have to wait till the summer. So therefore, do you keep a player that's not happy and the manager's not happy with until the summer, or do you loan him out to try and increase his value? We tried this with Martial a year ago with Sevilla. He wasn't really going to be part of United's plans long term. Obviously that's changed, but we sent him to Sevilla when we actually needed him because we wanted him to go and play well and increase his value. I think João Felix will probably leave Atletico Madrid in January because logically, if he's not playing, his value's stagnating. If he's playing for a team like United or PSG or Juventus and he plays well, his value will increase for the summer sale that they're inevitably going to do. So I think João Felix is available as a loan, but I'd put it separate to what we're talking about here because it wouldn't be a full-time deal, but it might be the deal that prevents any of these. So maybe get your comments in on that. In relation to the 5 players that I've shown you, so let's just whiz through them. Thuram, obviously Gakpo, Memphis. We've also got Dembele and David. I would rank them like this. 5th place, Moussa Dembele. I think we should avoid that deal. I think the only reason he's there is because he's free. Not scoring goals as well at the moment. 4th place, I'd put Memphis. Like the player, but don't really think we should be going back. And he would be the oldest of all of them. And I don't think he'd be a first-team player. And I could just see it not working out. 3rd place, I would go with Thuram. I like that player. I just don't feel that United are really looking at him. Available for free in the summer, 25, scoring a lot of goals. I'd put him in 3rd. 2nd place, I would go with Jonathan David, who's on the screen there. And as I said, I think in any other year, he'd probably be a very good option to give a go in January. But number 1, it would be Gakpo, because for me, he is the player that's the best of those 5 options and is immediately available in January. A player that Ten Hag wants, and I just think he's the most exciting one of the lot that can come into the club and make a big difference. So for me, it would be Gakpo. Where would you put João Felix into that, Mark, if he was an option? Right up there with Gakpo, if I'm honest. Yeah, I think João Felix, if you can get him into the club and get a tune out of him, he'd be the best of the lot. His career's stagnated, there's no doubt about that, but he'd be right up there with Gakpo for me. And let's not forget, United did inquire about João Felix in August. That is true. We did inquire, and Atletico Madrid said no. We knocked on the door, and they said no. So if we knock on the door again, which we could, they might say yes to a loan deal. So would you do João Felix and Gakpo? Of course I would. Would United do it? Financially, I don't think they would. But, I mean, why wouldn't you? A loan deal and Gakpo. I mean, all you're doing is paying João Felix's wages on top of what you pay for Gakpo, which, why would you not do that? Because he might be an option in the summer then. It would be a very good January transfer window if we could get Gakpo and then get João Felix on loan. A top club would do that. We're probably not top club mentality yet. We're still under the Glazers, but I would throw him in there. Anyway, get your comments in. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Get your comments in below, like I said. Don't forget, we've got our Black Friday sale all across the weekend. So if you want to get one of these or many other items, you can get 25% off the United Stand merch at the moment. Link is in the description, or just go to United Stand Shopify. But if you use the link in the description and pick your items, it will knock off your 25% on checkout automatically. The code is Black Friday if you need the code, by the way. Just type it in, all uppercase and no space. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.